I was going to talk about a different topic about what to expect from the Detroit Pistons this season, but instead, I think I'm going to talk a little bit about Jaden Ivey. I didn't get really a chance to dive in on his injury because I like to let these things play out. I know as fans, people who are invested in these players because we feel close to them, because we observe them and we watch them from a distance and we cheer them on. It's easy to kind of jump behind these things and give a lot of energy to it. But these things have to play out. These things have to play out. And I say that to say is that we don't always know how it's going to play out. And I want to be honest about that. I want to be 100 about that. All right. And I'm going to dive into that, the Jaden Ivey injury, and what it's probably going to look like with him coming back, or what I hope it looks like with him coming back. But before I dive in on this video, smash the like button for me, hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. It's a little thing to hit the like button, but it's a big thing for the channel. It really helps out. Um, just a little bit about my background. Some of y'all may not know my educational background, at least formally. Uh, my undergrad was in kinesiology, athletic training, and sports performance. Um, so I used to be a basketball coach for about 10 to 15 years, training athletes, working one on one with the athletes. I was in the developmental portion of things. So my undergrad was in learning about the body, its mechanics, how it moves, all these different things from nutrition, how to build confidence, the psychology of it, right? Then my master's program was in counseling psychology. And this is kind of where most of my business centers in today. How to support individuals with the mental side of things, the mental, emotional, relational wellness from their day to day lives. And so when I work with athletes, many times it's in a combination of those two things. I also work with couples and individuals, right? So I bring all that up to say is that what I want to talk about with Jaden Ivey is really important to me. And you probably guessed it from the title of this video that Jaden Ivey will not come back the same. And he shouldn't. And he shouldn't. And that's really, really important. Now, I want to start off with this premise. Jaden Ivey's initial injury, the more I've learned about it, just finished watching Downtown Deuce's live video stream he had on, and an exercise science expert who was able to break down a little bit more of what was taking place mechanically. The bone that he broke in his leg last January was not a weight bearing bone, which is really important because it's not something that you're necessarily going to stress a lot again through athletics, right? It was kind of one of those freak injuries that somebody had to fall into that bone in order to put enough stress on it to break. All right. The injury that he acquired recently, or the issue with his knee, is on the opposite leg. But as we know from the exercise, fitness, and training side of things, is that when you have an injury on one side of your body, you tend to put a lot of stress and strain on the other side of the body to compensate. This is the mental side of it. It's also the unconscious side of it. The body is naturally always compensating, right? You stub your toe in the morning and your body unconsciously naturally shifts its weight in order to alleviate stress from that area. That is to allow for healing for whatever area got injured or hurt or bumped, right? So it's not an abnormal thing. It's not something that's wrong. Here's the kicker is that many times especially with athletes, we have this idea, and I want to say we because I've been an athlete all my life, right? I've had to learn how to transition into different types of athletics as I've gotten older. One of the injuries that I suffered when I was about 30, 31, was actually the Gordon Hayward injury. Um, Landed on my foot playing basketball. All the weight went into the ankle, complete dislocation, bone tearing out. Very significant injury. And it took me years to adjust to the injury. Now, this is how it applies to Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey's young. Jaden Ivey is 23 years old. He's 23 years old. And there many times is this like idea that we're supposed to move in this linear fashion upward. That is how our career, our life, our accomplishments, our training, our performance is supposed to trend, is supposed to go. It's supposed to go up. if everything's going right. If I do everything right, it should keep going up. And that many times is probably one of the worst frameworks for looking at your life. And this is kind of the mental health side of things because life is anything but that, as Jaden Ivey is experiencing, right? He gets drafted to the Detroit Pistons. Great opportunity. Cade Cunningham's hurt. Doesn't get to play with the superstar and build that chemistry. Okay, bet. Dwayne Casey's there, does the right thing, tells him run point guard for the first time, full time. Remember, he didn't run point back in college. He was a shooting guard. Run point, develop the playmaking skills. Okay, a lot of turnovers. He's developing the skills. Okay, dope. The very next year, new coach changes everything. New offensive system, new expectations. Cade Cunningham's back. Monty Williams is there. There's a level of disconnect. He doesn't even start him, right? So now he's already on this roller coaster, right, of change year to year to year. Then, of course, after the Monty Williams debacle, then we bring in JB Bickerstaff, a godsend from the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then it's another change. Now he's in the starting lineup and he's trying to develop the chemistry with Cade Cunningham. And just when he starts to get himself going, boom, the injury happens. And now he's trying to work himself back. Right? Here's the mental part of it is that you have to lean into change when things change. You have to. And the change that the injury caused was that his body was going to try to compensate. His body was going to try to figure out how to move again. But here's the thing with the physical body, just as much as the mental, right? When change happens, it's kind of a saying of mine. When change happens, change happens. When change happens, change has happened. You can't go back. And you should not try to go back. When you've had an injury, the idea should not be to go forward and get back to where you were and do the same things you did. It should be to understand your injury, to understand how the body's trying to heal, and to make adjustments in according with that injury. If you try to push yourself to go back, what you end up doing is ignoring the current state your body is in. And this is something that happens many times in athletics. Many times. An example that I want to bring up is Jabari Parker. I don't know if y'all remember Jabari Parker played for the Milwaukee Bucks. Number two pick. Number two pick in his draft with Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid, Aaron Gordon, Julius Randle. It was kind of an incredible draft, if I'm honest. Comes to Milwaukee. He's the man. Giannis is like an afterthought. He's like at the end of the bench type of deal, right? And you have Jason Kidd trying to develop Giannis as a little point forward, but that's down the way. Jabari Parker is that dude. He's that dude. And then he tears an ACL. Very explosive player, extremely skilled, high promise. We thought he was going to be the next Melo. I thought he was going to be the next Melo, but he was bigger, right? Closer to 6'9", 240, 250, not 225, 230. Right? Super quick first step, springy, bouncy, nice little jumper, mid-range game, footwork, confidence, everything. And then the ACL. But then when he comes back from the ACL, guess who's on the rise? Giannis Antetokounmpo. So now he's got to figure out, okay, I'm back with this guy, but I'm still the guy. I'm the number 2 pick. Pushes himself to come back. Probably could have waited a little bit longer, lost some more weight. Ends up tearing the other ACL. Major setback. Right? Has another knee injury. He ends up with several injuries that derail his entire ascension. Right now, he's balling overseas. And I don't see that as a negative. He's made a career playing the game that he loves. Right? That's huge. Doing something you love throughout your life, maximizing the opportunity you have. Now, here's how it applies to Jaden Ivey. And this is why I say he's not going to be the same and he should not be the same. Back-to-back injuries, especially in the lower body, for an explosive athlete can have a devastating effect on your mental approach to how you play. And it can be devastating when you don't lean into the change. I'm not saying he can't get back to where he was athletically before the injuries, but I'm saying that should not be his focus. His focus should not be the athletic portion of his game. If I'm honest, it could be a godsend if he were to focus more on the skill portion of his game in coming back. One of the things that I can appreciate about athletes and athletics is that there's certain aspects of your game that tend to have a little bit more longevity. And something that we saw with Derrick Rose, right, was even though he was never the same explosive athletes after the back-to-back injuries, his quickness remained. Now, he may have been a 99 on the quickness scale before the injuries, but even after all the injuries, by the time he's in Minnesota, right, in New York, he's at like 95. He's at 95. He's still cat quick. He can get to where he needs to, being shifty. And as he adds that 3-point shot, all of a sudden he becomes more and more effective. I think what Jaden Ivey has working in his favor is that he's already a dead-eye shooter. A dead-eye shooter, right? I would say right now he's already a better shooter than Tim Hardaway Jr. was for us last year, right? And that is acknowledging how good of a shooter Tim Hardaway Jr. was for us. When I think about Jaden Ivey shifting his game less into the explosiveness, trying to get out into the open court, maybe dunk on guys that he used to be able to do with regularity, shifting his game into more of a skill game, a la CJ McCollum, might develop aspects of his game that allows him to have far more longevity. Primarily because he's not putting as much stress on his body. And he's focused more on the mental aspect of things, timing, rhythm, position, spacing, right? Understanding angles, reading the floor, right? Understanding situation. When I think about what it means for Jaden Ivey to come back, let me be clear. Jaden Ivey is starting off for this season behind the 8 ball. That's not a negative. It's not a judgment. It's a reality. He's not getting the training camp, not getting the preseason reps. He's going to miss the first month before reevaluation. Let's be clear. Reevaluation does not mean he's ready to hit the floor right after. Reevaluation means we want to see how this area heals, and then we check on how it's healed. And then we determine the ramp up to competitive play. Right? So it's focused on the healing, not ready for play. Big difference. In 4 weeks, how did this area heal? He'll be doing rehab. He'll be doing recovery, the icing and the massaging and the range of motion, maybe some balance work, but a lot of rest, which is what he should be focused on. And if I'm honest with you, I forgot to say this earlier, that I wonder if he tried to come back too fast last year. I'm going to be honest with you. There's a chance he tried to come back too fast, that he wanted to come back for the playoffs. And that may have worked against him. You think about veterans like a Kyrie Irving today. Kyrie Irving does not play around with his rehab. He doesn't. He's not going to. He's smart. He's like, look, if I want to play 3-4 more years, I got to make sure I let this moment do what it's supposed to do. Fully heal, fully recover, come back when I'm mentally, physically sound, 100%, and then I step into the space. Kawhi Leonard, I know he gets a bad rap. The reason why he can still perform at the level that he can right now is because he's had to take this approach. And he recognized when he did it in San Antonio, he got told what maybe he wanted to hear or told what maybe the organization wanted him to know and hear. He rushed back, and next thing you know, the injury became exacerbated, reoccurred, and all of a sudden, now he's dealing with this ongoing issue. All of our bodies are different. Jaden Ivey's body is different. And he's going to have to learn how his body is responding to the stress of this NBA environment. Let's be clear. I've always said this. The NBA game is unlike any other game. Probably closest to AAU, if I'm honest with you. If I'm honest with you. It's AAU with better IQ and stronger, bigger athletes, right? With better IQ, which is still a really fun game. Let's be 100% clear. It is the funnest, most entertaining style of play in the world right now, and we have the best athletes, right? Jaden Ivey is going to have to learn his body. Jaden Ivey is going to have to figure out how his body works, and he's going to do that by taking his time and coming back. I hope the best for him. I'm not going to project any expectations. And that's important. Remember, I'm on the mental health side of things as well. We don't know how his body's going to respond. We don't know how much time his body's going to need to fully heal and come back as he can come back. And this is why I'm hoping when he comes back, he's focused on the skill side of things. If he can give us Tim Hardaway Jr. from last season and play really good defense, great off ball movement, right? Play into that skill portion of his game. He can be a great contributor for us. We don't need the Jaden Ivey that we all expected. I even expected and hoped was coming back. Okay, he has another experience. We call it a setback, right? But it really is just an experience. And hopefully, if he adjusts to it, he can be able to come back and maximize what he can be for us this season. Now, I know it's really hard to look at he's in this contract situation. You know, this is the gamble of professional sports. You bet on yourself, it doesn't always pay off. This is why I always lean towards in support of the worker, the laborer, the one who's going out there and putting their bodies on the line versus the organization, right? Remember, the Detroit Pistons are making not just in basketball related income, but as an organization, probably five to six times what they pay the entire roster each year. Investments, commercials, television, um, clothing, branding, real estate, side deals, their stadium, et cetera, collectively beyond only basketball related income that comes from owning this team. They're making 5 to 6 times what they pay the entire team. I'm not worried about them losing money. There should not be a salary cap. Should not. It's un-American, unconstitutional. It's just some of the things that we do in this country that we make allowances for people who make exorbitant amounts of money, and they make exorbitant amounts of money as team governors, right? All this to say is Jaden Ivey has an opportunity to still have an incredible, incredible career, an incredible run for us. I think that if he focuses on the skill portion of his game, catch and shoot, off ball movement, right? Cutting off the ball, not trying to do a lot of explosive on ball work, but just making good reads, right? Give us that pick and roll action between you and Jalen Duren, you and Asar Thompson, you and Tobias Harris, and be able to make good reads, right? Make the right, correct pass, right? Let's work on that floater game that we saw in spurts last season. Let's see you work on finishing around under the rim, not always over the rim, right? I want to see that little pull up J from 15 to 18 feet coming off of that screen while also dribble handoff, catch and shoot threes. Let's work on and focus on an aspect of your game that's already elite, which is your shooting, and then build around that as a shooter so that what many times happens with athletes when they have ACL, Achilles, these major injuries, and I'm not saying he has one of those, I'm saying when they have major injuries, is that their real bounce back year is actually the year after they come back, 2 years later. So they have the injury, then they rehab, they ramp up for competition, they play the next year. If they were at an 8 athleticism, they're usually looking like a 6.5 the very next year. But then the year after, they take a major jump back up to 8. Or potentially over time, they can get back to 8.5 and keep ascending, especially when you're already young. That is what I would foresee for Jaden Ivey. This year, don't worry about the athletic explosive part. I know you wanted to shock and wow the world and then get this major contract, get that 35 plus million that you were asking for and likely deserve. I think if you focus on the skill aspect of your game, remember CJ McCollum still gets paid. His style of play still gets paid. If you come in as a high volume, effective shooter, playmaker, shot creator, but more in the skill aspect of your game, giving us 20 points per game on good efficiency, 45% from the field, 38 to 40% from three, right? Close to 80% from the free throw line. Give us 4 assists, give us 4 rebounds, but be relied upon to be able to create your own shot and make the appropriate reads. Remember, I know Jaden Ivey's game from watching, from his rookie year on, right? Watching him in college on, right? He is not somebody I would call a high level game manager or someone who reads the game at a high intense level. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, right? Russell Westbrook has had an amazing career being that level of game processor. Can you make the simple play consistently at a high level and lower your floor of the mistakes? Can you make the simple play at a high level and then lower the frequency of the mistakes? If you combine that with the shooting, if you combine that with the ability to get to the rim, the floater, the pull up jump shot, the dump off on the pick and roll, the dribble handoff at the top of the key from Duran, right? Getting to your spots, being effective and efficient, that's still a $35 million player. That can still be a $35 million player. You give us 24-4 when you come back on good efficiency, whether it's explosive, exciting, dunking, all that stuff or not, that's a $35 million player. What I would hope that Jaden Ivey does is focuses on the skill. And what this will allow his body to do is to fully recover physically, mentally, right? Emotionally. When he gets bumped, he's not worried about when he's trying to take off, which is, if I'm honest with you, it's something I saw in his lone preseason game. When he had opportunities to explode at the rim, he did not look comfortable doing so. He did not look confident in doing so. And maybe it was because that knee was already lingering. Maybe it was already sitting there. Maybe it was already giving him some issues that he was trying to work through. But what I would have loved to have seen was make an appropriate pass and dump off in that situation instead of trying to force the ball up. Show me the floater instead of trying to get all the way to the rim. Maybe pull up from 3 instead of trying to get all the way to the rim, right? Because you're an elite shooter. You're an elite shooter, right? You may have to adjust your game, your approach. It doesn't mean that you can't eventually get back to the athleticism, but it's to say you're far more effective with a high skill game and then building your athleticism towards it than being a great athlete who happens to have skill. I'll say that again. In the NBA, you're more effective as a highly skilled player who happens to have good athleticism or great athleticism than you are being a great athlete who happens to have skill. Right? Is your game built around the athleticism or is it built around the skill? I would say in the past, Jaden Ivey's game looked highly predicated around the athleticism, exploding to the rim, exploding out in transition, right? Just an explosive athlete in almost every facet of the game. Sometimes it would get him into trouble because he's trying to squeeze between tight spots, not reading the angle quite right, misjudging the defender's speeds, and he would have a lot of turnovers. If he can make this adjustment, maybe it helps him to shift into the skill aspect of the game where he can begin to slow down even more. And if he can slow his game down even more and begin to develop that in between aspect of his game, when he continues to grow that athleticism back to where it was as much as possible, right? No expectations, whether he does or not, or to whatever extent he can, he's going to have the opportunity to still be an extremely effective player for us. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm hoping for. That would be my outlook and kind of a holistic approach to his game. Right now, he needs to rest. Right now, he needs to chill. Right now, the nutritionist aspect of my training says go plant based, right? Get on the vegan tip. The more you do, stay away from fried foods and simple carbs and sweets and stuff like that. The more you stay away from that and meats, the less inflammation you're going to have. The better your body and your muscles and your tissues can heal and respond to training and adding stress and developing muscle. Um, but it's kind of like the old man's trick, right? The older you get in the game, the more you start having to learn these other aspects of the game in order to have longevity. All right. This was the trick that LeBron learned from Kobe playing in the Olympics together. He was like, oh, shoot, this is how you maintain your body. I got to get on this kick now. And now we see LeBron at age 75, right? All that's to say is Jaden Ivey has an opportunity to learn these lessons now. Focus on the skill. Focus on your nutrition, your wellness, your mental health, right? Spend time with your kids, your family. It's okay to step away from the game. Remember, you only got a window to about 35 for most players, anyhow. And that's if you've had a great career. So then you got to spend the next 65 years of your life figuring out something else, right? These are opportunities to figure out something else right now. Last offseason would have been also a good opportunity. Here's another opportunity to be reminded your body is fragile. It's not indestructible. And that's a good thing. That's okay. That's okay. You shouldn't come into any space thinking that you're indestructible. And learning how to take care of yourself, you also recognize some of these other parts of life that are important for you to pour into. And when you get the diagnosis in 4 weeks and they say, hey, you're good to go, that's what we're all hoping and praying for. You're 100%, it's healed really well. Also, take a page out of Kawhi Leonard's book. Go get a specialist of your own. Somebody that's just by you and get it confirmed. Get it confirmed. They said I'm good to go. What do you think? Let me know what you think. Good to go? Good to go? Okay, cool. Right? Following up. Not that I don't trust you. I just make sure I trust me. Make sure I'm good to go. Okay. Now I'm taking my time because I'd rather have you come back in February and be good to go than come back in January and not be yourself to whatever extent that can be. Right? So this is kind of a combination of kind of my educational background and really leaning into and trying to share a little bit about what it means to recover from injuries as an athlete. It is harrowing, right? If I could use that term, being injured as an athlete. I've been in athletics as an athlete since kindergarten as a high level athlete. When I had my injury at 30, it was terrifying, right? Because at the time, uh, the foot wasn't healing at that injury when I had that. It's what they call a subluxation and out, right? The Gordon Hayward injury, right? Complete dislocation of the ankle joint and the bone ruptures out. It wasn't healing. And the fear was what the doctors told me was that I could lose my foot if it gets infected, right? Now, as an athlete, you start spinning that in your mind. Fortunately, I was able to heal. Had to do my own nutritional journey because they was on some BS. Kaiser Hospital was like, yo, just eat anything. Here's some country fried steak and jello. I'm like, that sugar and meat and fried food, it's probably going to make it more inflamed. Come on, bro. So I had to do my own nutritional thing. And the inflammation went down. It was able to heal enough, and they were able to close up the stitching or the wound, and I've been able to get back. But I've had to change my life since that injury. Right. Unfortunately, Kaiser also didn't attach all the tendons, so I have to go back 10 years later. All right, shout out to 10 years later. But it's to say that life changes. You got to change with it. But I'm hoping the best for Ivy, hoping the best for the Detroit Pistons. I got some other videos I'm dropping, some shorts. There's some more short videos I'm going to be dropping along the way. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope it was informative. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, smash the like button for me. Once again, it's a little thing, but it's a big thing for the channel. Helps with the algorithm. And if you want, please subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. It tells YouTube you enjoy my content and you want to be notified when I drop some more. So I hope you're having an amazing day. Get out and get some sunshine. Remember, life is to be lived, it's to be enjoyed, and it's up to you to do it. No one's going to do it for you. So take every day to do something that means something for you, for your enjoyment, for your pleasure, excitement. Do it for you. Because if you're not, what's the point? I'm going to holler at y'all next time. Peace.